type of problem seems to be throwing a lot of people, so I'm going to go over it step by step with you. If you have two square roots on the same side, hopefully you're thinking, oh, to undo a square root, the first thing I'm going to have to do is square both sides. I have to square something in order to get rid of a square root. I don't want to leave them on the same side because then I'm going to have a middle term that is a square root times a square root, and that's just ugly. So I can explain that to you later if you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this negative square root of x plus 4 and just move it to the other side. So this side becomes is 2x plus 3, square root of 2x plus 3, equals 2 plus the square root of x plus 4. Now, if I have square roots, like I said before, if I have two things with square roots, the only way to undo them is to square everything. So we're going to square everything. And this side is beautiful because the square of a square root cancels each other out, and I'm just simply left with 2x plus 3. This side, however, this is all in parentheses, notice. So I'm going to have to write this out twice times another 2 plus square root of x plus 4, right? And hopefully you guys are thinking, now I have to FOIL that. So when I FOIL it, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times the square root of x plus 4 is simply 2x plus 4. The two middle terms being FOILed is going to be another 2 square roots of x plus 4. But what is the square root of x plus 4 times the square root of x plus 4? Well, isn't that just x plus 4 squared? And the square root of x plus 4 squared, they cancel each other out, so I'm just left with x plus 4. I'm basically left with the guts, what's inside. Everybody understand that? Square root of x plus 4 times the square root of x plus 4 is just what's inside. So now I'm going to combine some like terms. I've got two 4's over here, so I have 8. I have an x. And what is 2 square roots of x plus 4 and another 2 square roots of x plus 4? So I have 2 of something and 2 of something else. I have 4 square roots of x plus 4, because 2 and 2 is 4. Okay, so that's the right side. The left side didn't change, so let's just bring that down. I'm sorry, the right side didn't change. So now I can subtract the 8 and I can subtract the x from both sides. So subtract the x and subtract the 8. So now I just simply get x minus 5 equals 4 square roots of x plus 4. So let's just stop right here, because from this point forward, I also want to make sure you guys recognize a problem like this, because you could very likely be given a problem that just looks like this. So make sure, hopefully, if you see a square root, you're automatically thinking, oh, I got a square root, or excuse me, if you have a square root on one side of the equation, you have to square both sides of the equation. So again, this is the second time now that we are squaring both sides of our equation. So this side, remember, is x minus 5 times another x minus 5. You guys are all pretty good at that now, so I don't worry about that too much. X squared minus 10x plus 25. I don't think I went too fast for anybody there. Make sure you have that middle term, negative 5x is minus 10x. Now this is a little tricky. This I'm simply, if you guys recall, if I have x, y, two things being multiplied that are being squared, that simply equals x squared and y squared. Do you remember that? You just distribute that, square on both sides. So I'm going to simply square my 4, so that's going to be 16. 4 squared is 16. But what is the square root of x plus 4 squared? So square root of x plus 4 all being squared, remember, those two guys cancel each other out. So I'm just left with the guts. Now I'm going to put it in parentheses because it's not just, I don't want to just multiply the 16 and the x. It's really x plus 4. That's a unit. So if it's a unit, keep it together in parentheses. Okay, so now I can distribute that parenthesis. So I have 16x plus 64. And now this is going to be a beautiful quadratic, because now what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to move everything to one side of the equation. So I'm going to get x squared minus 26x minus 39, I just subtracted the 64 and the 16x from both sides, equals 0. And this is a quadratic. I always like to check first to see if it factors. If you can factor it quickly, then go ahead and factor it. But if not, then you can always use quadratic formula. So this one does not factor, so we're going to go ahead and use quadratic formula. So this is going to be opposite of b, so we're going to have positive 26 plus or minus negative 26 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 39 all over 2 times 1. So when I do this out on my calculator, again, you don't have to do this in your head. We're going to have square root of, this is going to become 832 on the inside over 2. So square root of 832, some of you guys still need to be practicing this. Square root of 832, I'm just going to do all these divisions by 2. So 832, I keep dividing. I have got 1, 2, 3 groups of 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 8 goes on the outside, and this little lonely 13 has to stay on the inside. So 8 squared root of 13. Here is a really good trick if you guys don't know it, and you will always have your calculator. You can verify this. If you plug in, because in this class we do not want decimal answers. Decimal answers are not exact. So we want to stick with exact answers. So if you type in the square root of 832, you get a decimal on your calculator. I don't want that decimal, but I can use this to verify that I simplified my radical correctly. So if I type in, because I think it's 8 square roots of 13, if I type in 8 square roots of 13, notice I have the exact same decimal. So if you have the exact same decimal, that means these two radicals are exactly the same. So it's just a good little quick check, because some of you guys are making simple little errors when you're doing your division here, and you're not simplifying it correctly. So it doesn't hurt to take 2 seconds just to check to make sure you've simplified it correctly, because it's a silly little point to miss. So this becomes, 26 plus or minus 8 square roots of 13 all over 2. And remember, if I can divide all 3 ways by the same number, then that's okay. So we can divide them all by 2. So I end up getting 13 plus or minus 4 square roots of 13. And that is your answer. It is better to leave your answer like this. Don't split this up into 2 separate answers where you have 13 plus 4 square roots of 13 and 13 minus 4 square roots of 13. It's neater just to leave it as one simple answer like this. The only time that you want to split it up into 2 separate answers is if this square root works out perfectly. So if you have a perfect square root of 25, square root of 16, then you want to go ahead and add 13 plus that number and 13 minus whatever that number is. But otherwise, just leave your answer like this. Good luck.